estate and mortgage credits to the sector. The lack of adequate and available long-term funds has been the bane of housing finance in Nigeria and Africa. The banking sector, although not advanced to financing home ownership, has not demonstrated enough commitment to providing the required funds on a long-term basis and at very acceptable and affordable interest rates. The existence of weak primary mortgage institutions with attendant weak capitalization, inconsistent policy, and technical skill deficiencies has further worsened the housing situation in Nigeria. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the government in the FCT has the opportunity and has progressed in the following areas in encouraging housing development: enforcement of property rights and ease of land acquisition and transfer, enforceable foreclosure system for mortgage lenders, credit information, etc. World Bank experts have noted from research and experience that a well-functioning housing finance system not only contributes to home ownership, but also positively affects the general economy, creates job opportunities, socio-political stability, and long-term wealth creation. The FCT administration, in realizing this housing, have encouraged developers through the mass housing program, which I am the director, and affordable programs in FCT. We have developed policies, we have developed the mass housing guidelines to encourage people who are interested in providing houses for our people to come and key in. And I'm so glad to see that most of the people I've seen who are financing this program, they are all working with us in the FCT administration towards delivery of housing. So the FCT administration is really, really happy, and the Honorable Minister has noted that he's quite satisfied with this program because the issue of financing is the key theme in housing delivery. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, he has presented in his paper, which I'll give you a copy, that in the course of this discussion, we should also encourage our developers to try to make sure that they provide these houses at affordable rates. We are also, as an administration, encouraging cooperative societies to come up together in order to further reduce the cost of building houses so that allocations can be made directly to them to develop houses. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, with this, I want to finally congratulate the convener of this program and everybody that has made out time to come here, and I wish you a successful deliberation during the conference. Thank you.
To the outcome of this conference. The MD of the Nigerian, give a warm round of applause as much up.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everyone. The MD CEO, the impact of housing in Nigeria. So we focus on affordability and accessibility to finance. And I'm glad to see our friend from Chagamas, Mr. Shamuganathan, who were together about 2 years ago in Malaysia. So you're welcome to Nigeria. It's good to see you here. I see a lot of very familiar faces which really hurt in driving home the issue of housing deficit that we have in Nigeria. We know we've got about 17 million, and the number keeps growing, but we're sure of the data. And this is an area where NMRC is also trying to help. We've been working together with Alhaji Adilakun, the convener of this conference, right from the days of FISH and other very nice programs. And we're really happy to see NISH taking the lead in providing housing to our people to ensure it reaches the masses in Nigeria. We believe that this is the missing link for the masses to be able to have access to housing in Nigeria. And we are looking forward to the successful takeoff of a niche, as well as other programs that we're looking at bringing on board for this program. I will thank you so much, the convener Alhaji Adelakun, and I will thank you all for coming for this conference. We look at engaging everyone to ensure that we are able to work together going forward. Thank you very much.
As far as the civil servants are concerned, for almost a decade now. So now, Dr. Natifika,
Mr. Adelakun and I crisscrossed so many ministries, offices, partners to develop possibilities for us to get easy sources of funds for public servants to own their homes. It became quite difficult. When we now resorted to consulting with the then head of the civil service of the Federation, we agreed that we have to look inwards in the public service to develop partnership. That was how the FISH program came up. He was then the chairman of the Federal Government Staff Housing Loans Board, and today I am not surprised that in retirement he is continuing with the dream that he had. My prayers for him is the niche program that is being launched today will serve as a source of counterpart fund for us who are working in government to encourage public servants to own their own homes as a surest means of killing corrupt practices. At the end of this program, we pray that we develop workable strategies so that we can move the housing sector forward. Mr. Adelakun, my former chairman, I wish you the best of luck. And we at the Federal Government Staff Housing Loans Board would work with you to ensure that this program does not only work, but run for the benefits of all Nigerians. Thank you very much.
To society and by the nations, Nigeria realize that the FISH program, as a retired civil servant, I can no longer with this awareness at rate of 18 to 20%. So until we're able to achieve the social housing, let's see how we can assist them. We are taking care of things. Seeing is believing. Before even getting to your site, I'm sold, and I want to congratulate you. It's a lot of
as announced by the MC, I'm here representing the head of service of the Federation, who would have loved to be here for this event. And she has begged me to be here to give a kind of goodwill message at this occasion. A goodwill message is centering on some points of fascination that she had at the moment she received the invitation for this conference. And she has bidden me to convey those points of fascination. In the first instance, she has seen this particular program as a commendable effort that is providing opportunity for civil servants while in service, public servants while out of service, a win-win situation. For the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, our concern in terms of housing delivery is exemplified in our program under the FISH program that is primarily targeted at taking care of public servants while in service. Also, seeing this particular niche program at the exit end equally to take care of public servants at the point of exit in terms of access to housing, she felt is a commendable effort, and she has bid me to convey this particular message on this occasion. The second point of fascination is the fact that having worked for quite some time with the convener of this particular conference, she sees this conference as a continuation of the vision that he had while he was in service. And so sometimes it could be an assumption that it's only natural for him to continue, but sometimes such assumptions are not really fulfilled. And so she felt thrilled by the fact that this vision, even after service, is now being pursued by the convener through this program. And she sends congratulations for this effort. Looking at the theme of the conference, which is talking about financing affordable housing, realities, necessities, and possibilities, it's quite certain, as has been said in the other good messages that have been said, that the housing deficit, not just in Nigeria but in Africa, is quite huge. It's a big challenge. Those are the realities that are confronting us presently. The expectation is, at the end of this conference, no matter how ugly the realities are, this conference will be able to address those realities. And hopefully at the end of the conference, the realities, new realities will emerge. New realities that will give hope to those who are battling with this issue of housing deficits. New realities that is able to match quality houses with affordability. The possibilities are enormous, but all the same is a win-win situation. As many who have those necessities fulfilled and satisfied, the joy cannot be quantified. It's a win-win situation where we find these financiers in this win-win situation, the developers equally in that loop, and the off-takers equally in the loop. The possibilities are enormous in terms of employment generation, which is one of the issues that is also confronting governments everywhere. The possibilities, when we have a concerted effort towards housing delivery that is focused on delivering not just the houses, but delivering on livable environments, the possibilities are there as well. And of course, the niche as a platform, together with fish as a platform, it provides a credible platform that's going to allow for experience sharing. And so the expectation is that at the end of this conference, we'll be able to leverage on the experiences and the expertise that is in this hall for this conference, and be able to push forward the agenda for housing delivery that's going to bring joy to many homes, public servants, as well as people in the private and informal sector. And so the expectation is also that it's also going to provide a platform to network and reach out to the stakeholders, other stakeholders in the industry, to be able to provide not just support for the niche program, but also support for the fish program as well. And I believe that with the level of expertise that is at this conference, I believe we'll be able to arrive at practical solutions that are going to begin to address issues of interest rates, that are going to address issues of infrastructural development in terms of the environment that people are going to live in, that is also equally going to address the issues of affordability. I can, on this point, wish you as participants in this conference all the best. Thank you.
And to this very conference, and I think the points you made are well taken. With long administrative experience at the national and global levels, he possesses strong intellectual capacity that has helped him to optimally manage men and women and material. Indeed, just last week, he launched his 12th book. So we launched it last Tuesday with the Vice President as the Chief Guest of Honor. And the book was about, moving from consumption to production. The case study of Nigeria. Quite an interesting book. I hope you have some copies and then people can avail themselves. In fact, as far as the reviewer of that book is concerned, that is his most seminal book up to date. He said of the 12 books that he has written, he will pick that as his magna, carta of all his work. So he is widely traveled and has worked in diverse multicultural settings over time. In addition to his managerial experience, he has made consistent contribution to the theoretical and policy literature in the field of urbanization and human sentiment, innovation and policy development. He was the immediate past director of Regional Office for Africa, UN Habitat, up to February this year. And he retired as the most senior Nigerian diplomat working at the United Nations office in Nairobi. And I was privileged as the permanent representative of Nigeria to UN Habitat to have collaborated with him very, very positively, particularly on the African position on urbanization, the new urban agenda that was adopted last year at the third UN conference on urbanization and human settlement in Quito. He spent 6 years, that's 2001 to 2006, as professor of the United Nations University, Institute for New Technologies at The Hague. At this prestigious global citadel of research and training in the Netherlands, Professor Oyeyinka is a cerebral scholar, epitomized distinction and dignity, where he earned the respect of peers for his pioneering work in his field. Professor Oyeyinka holds a Bachelor's of Science, first class, in Chemical Engineering, University of Ife, now Bafemi Awolowo University, Master's in Chemical Engineering, University of Toronto, Canada, and Doctor of Philosophy, DPhil, in Political Economy of Technological Change and Industrialization, University of Sussex, United Kingdom. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium Professor Banji Oyeyinka.
Thank you very much, MC, my former ambassador in Kenya. By one of the meetings we had yesterday, the idea is that we will be able to come out with certain key outcomes in terms of setting up the right kinds of organizations, the right institutions that will begin to push the ideas forward. Let me once again thank all those who organized this meeting. I'll move very quickly through a couple of slides. The first point I would like to make is that what we are doing here has the support of all member states globally. I was a member with colleagues from Nigeria who participated in what we call the New Urban Agenda in Quito last year, and agreed on certain ways by which the housing sector should be supported. More importantly, for us to support housing finance to ensure that we, and you will see in a few moments how housing ties into the broader societal ills. For the last 60 years, the development agenda has been to remove poverty, inequality, and to grow the jobs in our cities. And one of the, what we call the physical manifestation of urban poverty is a lack of housing. is a situation where people come to cities in the hope that they will find jobs, in the hope that they will find a better life, but they end up in our Jegunles and all these kinds of places where their lives are not better than what they left in the rural area. So the New Urban Agenda vision supports what we are doing today. Number two, the New Urban Agenda, next slide, the Sustainable Development Goals. There are 17 sustainable development. I want to tie all of this at the highest level onto to the national level and also to community level. The Sustainable Development Goals, which was agreed by all countries, signed by our own heads of state, there are 17 of them. And for the first time, there is a very specific goal that is devoted to the idea of urban settlements and cities. That is Sustainable Development Goal number 11. And you will see on the board, go to the next slide, the key issues that, next slide. You see here, goal number 11 says, make cities and human settlements inclusive, safe, resilient, and sustainable. And under it, you have the sub-goals, for instance, like adequate housing, adequate, safe, and affordable housing and basic services, and to upgrade slums by 2030. Number one sustainable goal is to get rid of poverty by 2030. This is a huge challenge for our country. It's not an unattainable goal. China moved 500 million people from poverty over a period of 16 years. I know we are not China, but I know we can do something. We can aspire to do, even if all we do is do 50%, 10% of what they did. So a number of issues are under goal number 11 that are tied directly to the notion of removing poverty. Expanding public transportation, pay special attention to women, children, persons with disabilities, and old people. By 2030, we are enjoined to enhance inclusive and sustainable urbanization, integrated and sustainable human settlement, and to remove deaths by diseases that are caused directly by degraded environment. So what you find is that sustainable housing is closely tied to the disease burden. When people live in slums, they are vulnerable to all manner of things. They live in slums not because they want to do so, but because of lack of income. So the most important factor that we're going to be looking at today is the income of people as a determinant of where they live. Wherever you look at it, in what angle you look at it, the issue of affordable housing is always tied to the median income of a society. Let's go to the next slide. So I go now to the issue of affordable housing. What is the issue? In the longer term, when you look at Nigeria's evolution over the last 20, 30 years, what we have found is that the contribution of this particular sector to our economy is extremely very low. It is low because 70–80% of the people are not being taken into account. Much of the houses we build in Abuja, in Ikoyi, Victoria Land, are what I call ghost houses. You see currently some of the surveys that have been carried out, many of the houses are empty houses. We all know this is the truth. They are empty, but there are 70% of the people who have nowhere to live. So in other words, we need to shift strategy. And affordable housing is not just a social issue, it is an economic issue. It is profitable when we do it correctly. If we don't do it, it's going to continue to drag down the economy of our country. There are a couple of points that I will show you here from the global surveys that we did while I was still head of the Regional Office for Africa in Nairobi, in the UN Habitat. That shows clearly that when a country is dominated by informal economy, it drags down the economy of that country. There's a very strong correlation, or what we call association, between economic growth and informal housing. Wherever you find informal housing, in other words, people who don't have good jobs, people who are barely